As most of all of you guys know on my channel here, I have been very respectful to all kinds of companies. And time again, I get to work with one of my favorites, Nintendo of America. They've been so supportive of me over the past 2 or 3 years, and I can't thank them enough for every single opportunity they give me. And they recently gave me one that I will not ever forget. So a few weeks ago on Valentine's Day, Nintendo flew me out to a special event. Just a real quick thank you to Nintendo for providing airfare and hotel travel for this. They did provide this for me and I'm very grateful. At this event, I got to play the latest version of Star Fox Zero. Within this event, I found out a lot of the new features for Star Fox Zero. There's going to be a co-op mode where one player controls the gun and one player controls the ship. There's going to be a big emphasis on replayability for a lot of the stages. And the amiibo functionality for Star Fox Zero is incredible. Putting the Star Fox Smash Bros. Amiibo on the Wii U gamepad turns Fox and his crew into the Super Nintendo versions of their ships. The sound effects, the music, everything kind of changes and warps around that. So there's a lot of new features they talked about, and I'm sure that you guys have seen the new Star Fox trailer by now, or maybe it's coming out. But more importantly, I got to sit down with Bill Trinen and the legendary game designer himself, Shigeru Miyamoto, to talk about everything, both old and new, about Star Fox. It was me, him, and Bill Trinen, and we sat down for about a half an hour to 45 minutes, and I got to ask whatever I wanted about Star Fox Zero, and the overall Star Fox universe. And I apologize if I seem a little nervous in this video. This whole thing was a surreal experience for me and a dream come true. So enjoy. I hope you like the interview. You'll have to excuse me because I'm really nervous. This has been such. This is a bucket list thing for me, to me, both of you, just because you both have been my idols since I was born. So this is a incredible pleasure. So thank you. So I brought some questions, and most of these I feel like I just kind of can answer for myself after playing, but I'd love to hear from the source. It seems to be a common element for the Star Fox franchise to go back to the beginning to remind the players of the grassroots of Star Fox. Star Fox 64 was personally my favorite game of all time, and now that I've played this, I'm instantly reminded of how well crafted that game was and this one is. With Star Fox Zero, how important was it for you guys and your team to go back to basics of what Star Fox was?
僕らにとってどの部分が大事だったか、そうですね。スターフォックスっていうのは自分がその戦闘機に乗ってパイロットになってでこう何か立ち向かっていくっていう、そしてその 3D 空間の中で自分が操作を上手になっていくことが面白いってことがまず一番大事だったんですね。
Well, the most important thing with a Star Fox game is you become the fighter pilot and you fly that ship through that 3D space, and you have to get a sense of what it feels like to actually pilot a ship kind of in those levels.
誰でも簡単に自分の覚えた操作で宙返りができたり、バレルロールができたりっていうことをすごい大事にしてきたんですけども、そのスターフォックス64のゲームデザインの中では自分が飛ぶことと狙うことっていうのを一つにすることで遊びにしたんですね。
And then, of course, you have the other techniques that you can learn, and they're fairly simple controls, but you can learn to do the somersault or the barrel roll. But with Star Fox 64, one of the main things that we focused on was flying and aiming at the same time.
この話をしてもおかしくないですけど、この続きで。
はい。
これは今度は Wii U の2つの画面があるということで、飛ぶこととエイミングを別々にやってみようと。でそこのテクニックを磨くことがすごくそのアクションシューティングとして自分がパイロットとして面白いんじゃないかということで、じゃあ元々のスターフォックスをベースにしながら全く新しい体験で作り変えてみようということになったんです。
So this time with Star Fox Zero, what we did is we have the two-screen gameplay and the ability now to separate the flight controls from the aiming. And so we feel that really gives you kind of a new way to play in this action style of gameplay. And so we thought it was important to go back to the basics of Star Fox 64 and kind of reimagine that game with this new style of play.
けどもやっぱりその4人の仲間がいて、それでアンドルフとペッパーとフォックスマお父さんとこの関係とかはもうそのまま残したいので、それをベースにいろんな要素を追加しながら作り変えたのでゼロというちょっと 不安定なタイトルになりました。
But we still wanted to retain the 4-member Star Fox team, and you still have Andros, and you have Fox's father, and sort of the relationships between all of them. And so we wanted to retain all of that, which is why we felt that, okay, let's kind of reimagine that game and that world in a new way with this new style of play, which is why we decided to go with the name Star Fox Zero, because it's sort of going back to the start.
Very rarely do it when I play new games do I remember what it was like to play the originals. I felt like I was playing not only Star Fox 64 for a second time, but almost like a brand new version of it. And I think you guys did such a wonderful job with paying respects to what you created so long ago and pushing the bar even further. And I definitely felt that when I was playing with the gamepad. It was definitely there, and I loved that. That was really fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. How different did the game end up from where the design initially started? I know that when you guys make games, you have an initial concept and idea, and then hours and hours of development and work, and it changes into something different. From start to finish, how different did the end product become?
僕最初はこのスターフォックスゼロを作るときにスターフォックスのシステムをその2画面を使った新しいパイロットシステムにして、それでできるだけ早くみんなに遊んでほしい。それから今みんなゲームするにも他のゲームもあるし他の、遊びもあるので忙しいやろうから割とコンパクトにテンポよく遊べるスターフォックスのアクションゲームを作ろうと思ってスタートしたんですね。
So when we first started working on the game, there were a couple of things that we wanted to do. One was, we had come up with this new system of two-screen gameplay that really focuses in on the piloting and the shooting, and I wanted to bring that to people very quickly so that people could play it very soon. But at the same time, we wanted to approach the game slightly differently from previous Star Fox games, where people have a lot of games available to them to play today, and they have other things that are asking for their attention and demanding their time. And so we thought that maybe we would take and make it a more compact Star Fox game that you play. It's a slightly more fast tempo, a little bit shorter levels, and make it a slightly different approach from that perspective.
ちょっと作ってるうちに昔のスターフォックスに思い出のある人たちはやっぱりそれでは物足りないってなるし、我々ももっとスターフォックスらしさっていうのはドッグファイト以外にたくさんあったよねっていうことで、それでちょっと時間を延ばして強化することになりました。
But what we found as we were taking that approach in development was that the Star Fox fans from long ago really wanted something more than that. And we also felt, that we wanted to really make sure that we brought out sort of all of what makes Star Fox what it is, outside of just the dogfighting style of gameplay, but also in the level design and things like that. And so gradually through development, we decided to extend the project a little bit and sort of expand the gameplay to make it deeper than what we had originally planned.
最終的には一旦クリアしてからまだまだ自分でルートを見つけたり新しい攻め方があるんですけども、それでも初めて遊んだ人には優しいアーウィンもあってで軽くスターフォックスを楽しむこともできると結構幅広い人に遊んでもらえるゲームになったと思うんですけど。
So in the end, we were able to, with the extended time, we were able to design it so that you can go into levels and come back and replay them and find new routes and things like that. But also at the same time, for people that have never played a Star Fox game before, we have the simple Arwing, and you can fly that, and it's fairly easy. And so I think that we've managed to create something that is going to be, it's going to be fun for a wide range of people, including new Star Fox players and old Star Fox players.
There was something magical about playing Corneria again, because it feels so familiar from what we've played through. So how important to you guys is the overarching lore of Star Fox? Is it more about the gameplay, or is it kind of the story? Is it a peppering of both?
基本的には僕はゲームプレイだと思うんです。ゲームプレイをしながら、独自にみんながストーリーを感じてくれたらいいんですけども、やっぱりこのお話はフォックスがなぜ戦うのかっていうところに結構僕はこだわりを持ってて、 それからやっぱり子供が親のように育っていくっていうこともすごく興味があったので、この話の場合はペッパー将軍とアンドルフとフォックスの間にどういう関係があるのかということを一応大事にはしてるんですね。ですから今回ちょっとストーリーをかなり強化して、それでトランスポーターというものを入れることでさらに話を複雑にしたので、その話もどっかで語りたいなと思うんですけども。
So yeah, for me it really is about the gameplay. And then as you're playing through the levels, you're able to kind of experience the story while you're playing. But there's always been a few kind of themes to the story that have been really important for me. And one is the question of, well, why is Fox fighting? And then of course the question of, I've always had this kind of interest in the, adults who sort of raise their children to follow in their footsteps. And that's why in the storyline, for me, it's very important, those relationships between Fox and General Pepper and Andros. And so this time with the story, we're still, it's still focused in on sort of the relationship between them, but we've also, from a story side, introduced a number of new elements to it. And so you'll see these things will appear in the game called teleporters, and those play an important role in the story and kind of expand the story in different ways. And I hope we'll be able to go into more detail on how the story is changing in the near future.
So you had said previously that a delayed game is eventually a good game, but a rushed game is bad forever.
それすごい夢になってる。なんかちょっと誤解なんです。僕は自分の作ったのでちょっと満足がいかないまま納期に追われて出したものはずっとそのまま残ってしまうっていうことを言いたいだけで、ダメなゲームがダメだというつもりじゃないんです。
Yeah, people really like that quote, but what I think I really meant to say was that when I make a game and if I rush to get it out on time, but it's still not done the way that I want it to be, and I put it out in a state that I'm not satisfied with, I'll never be able to take it back and I'll regret it for a very long time. But I never had an intention of telling anybody that they've made a bad game and that it'll always be bad.
I don't think, I guess the way that I interpret it, as well as many other Nintendo fans as well, is I think that nowadays rush development is rush development, and I think taking the time is most important. Whether we're waiting a month or a year, I think it doesn't matter. I think, we're waiting patiently because we want to see the best of what it can be.
Thank you.
So with that said, with the delay of Star Fox Zero, what were some of the developmental difficulties you guys had for your team? Was it the controls, the gameplay, the level design, the story, kind of a combination of everything?
やっぱりね、その2つの画面を使うことに慣れていくことが面白いけど分かりにくいところがあるとか、それからもっと前のスタッフ64ではこういうことが楽しかったとかいろんな意見があって、でそれをビジュアル的に分かりやすくしたり音響を補強したりすると同時にその時間を使っていろんな敵の AI をちょっと賢くするとか、それから配置も本当にちょっとどういう配置に適応かによって面白さって変わるんですね。でそれを遊んで何度も修正するということをプラチナゲームズと一緒にじっくりとやりました。
So certainly while we were developing the game, what we got was a lot of feedback from people, and for some people it was that you had longtime Star Fox fans who were thinking of the things that they had been able to do in Star Fox 64 and saying, I want to be able to do more of that in Star Fox Zero, and so taking that sort of feedback. For some folks, you had the two-screen gameplay, which once you get used to it, it's a lot of fun. But for some people, the getting used to it part was a little bit challenging at first. So adding in elements that would help better train people on how to use it. And then even other things, we've added new sound effects to the game and done some things from a polishing standpoint graphically. And then also what we did was really looking carefully at the placement of enemies in the levels. Because even just a subtle change in enemy placement or enemy timing can really affect how fun a level is to play. So we spent a lot of time replaying every level, fine-tuning the enemy placement, working together with Platinum Games on all of this to really make the game balance as good as it could be.
How did you decide on such a unique control scheme? How much of it was based on immersion versus just kind of playing with the gamepad?
まあ、この操作自体はどう決めたんでしょうか。
そうですね。
まあ
どっちかというとこの操作を作るためにスターフォックスを選んだっていうのが正しいんですけども、こう例えばラジコンの飛行機を飛ばすとかいうことを試したことがあるんですね。でそのラジコンの飛行機がこう飛んでるところを見ながら、自分が操縦してるイメージを持つ。だけどその操縦してるイメージがここにコックピットのビューがあったらこれはすごく面白いことになるんじゃないかというので、そういう演出的なビューというのを考えた時にスターボックスってデモシーンが全部ラジコンの飛行機のようにこう演出されてるけど自分はそれはゲームプレイ中には見れないっていうので、じゃあゲームプレイ中にそういう外部の演出も見られながら自分がコックピットで戦うということができたらっていうこととエイミングしてこう撃つっていうことがすごく噛み合ったのでもうこれはスターフォックスを作る以外ないっていう結論になる。
So yeah, what's actually not accurate to say would be that we created this control scheme to use in a Star Fox game. Instead, what we were doing was we were experimenting with the idea of controlling a radio-controlled airplane. And so you had the scene of the radio-controlled airplane on the TV, but you were controlling it here. And then we thought, well, if we had a cockpit view of the radio-controlled airplane, then that might make it kind of fun to be able to see the perspective of controlling it, but also see it from the viewpoint of the plane. And then once we did that, we realized that if you add in the combination of kind of the independent shooting on the gamepad, that together those all made the perfect fit for a control scheme for a new Star Fox game. And we thought that with that view of sort of the radio-controlled view, where you've got this kind of third-person perspective, we thought it would be great if we could have the cinematic scenes from Star Fox playing out on the TV, but give you the freedom to still, during those scenes, aim on the gamepad with your own cockpit view, and basically play through the movie scenes that normally you don't get to play to in a game. And so we thought that was sort of the perfect fit for a new Star Fox game. And that was when we decided to turn it into Star Fox.
ボスのシーンなんかはもうまさにそれの連続なんですけど、普通のシーケンス、ムービーシーケンスのところでも半分ぐらいは実は自分でもう見慣れたら見ずに自分で操作して点数を稼いだりする。
And so a lot of the boss fights play out like that, where you've got this kind of target view on the TV screen. But even within the gameplay itself, you'll come to moments where there's a cinematic scene that's telling a part of the story, and in almost all of those, you can still use the cockpit view on the gamepad, and you can either watch it up on the TV or you can just focus on the gamepad and still kind of fly around and shoot using the cockpit view.
That was definitely evident in all range mode. I felt in that like extra path that you guys showed me. Just that moment of the tower, convulsing the power and, having to run away from it. It felt like not only am I a part of it, but I need to actually do something in order to get away from what's going on.
Yeah, which is something that you can't experience if you're just looking at the game from, say, a first-person perspective.
後ろから殴られるのも分かる。ファーストパーソンビュー。
So it's a first-person view where you can still tell if somebody's shooting at you from behind.
Yeah. And I noticed too that you guys, as I was in the gamepad, you guys were seeing a totally different world than I was seeing. And so to hear you guys talk to me about watch out and be careful, it felt almost like a community effort to kind of figure out what to do next. And it was really exciting to kind of have that in the fly.
みんなで騒ぎながら遊ぶ。
そう
アドバイスしながら遊ぶ。そうですね。
彼がゲームパッドを見てて、こっちで遊んでるのに周りのみんなが「わー危ない!」ってこっちの方から言ってて、
割とだから一人で遊ぶのもいいけどリビングで遊ぶゲームとしても大事だと思ってて、だから2人モードをついてるんですけど、得点を稼ぐための2人モードっていうのはあるんですけど、どっちかというと親子で遊ぶとか彼女と遊ぶとか、打つ方はね何でもいいですからね、操縦ちゃんとすれば。
So yeah, it's a game that obviously if you're playing by yourself, it's fun to play, but we've also designed it in a way that it's going to be really fun for you to play in the living room with other people around you, and it'll be entertaining for them to just sit and watch. In fact, we've also included a co-op mode in the game, and this is where one player is controlling the ship and the other player can aim and shoot at everything. And so if you have somebody who's just good at flying the ship, then you can actually have anybody who maybe they're not as good at playing games just sit down alongside, and the aiming is very easy. So we've kind of designed it as a way for parents to play with kids, or to play with your girlfriend or your significant other or something, and have this great way to play co-op together on the couch in these and try to get a high score.
さっきのデモシーケンスとかではクリアデモやってる最中にカメラに向かってこう撃ってみようとデモの時に腰の向き自分が撃てるかどうかってすごい毎回楽しみ。
What I always love to do is after I've cleared an area and it's in the cinematic scene on the TV, I like to control the ship so I get it flying straight at the camera to see if I can shoot it myself.
すごい5秒ほどのチャンスしかない。
You only have like a 5-second chance to do it.
That picture moment. So I noticed that one of the little tech demos at E3 2014, the security camera one, included some Star Fox logos. How did that relate to the developmental of Star Fox Zero as we know today? Was there anything borrowed from the beginning phase that made it into what we have now?
そうですね。全く同じゲームじゃないんですけども、関係のあるゲームとして最初から作ってたんですね。それで完成したので今度一緒に発表したいと思っています。それでスターフォックスって本当誰でも幅広い人に遊んでほしいんですけども、本当にもう打つだけでいいゲームってなかなかないんですね。けどあれはこうカメラを入れ替えながらただ打つだけでも遊べるという、本当にスターフォックスの一番基本の部分のゲームとしても楽しんでもらえるので、ぜひとも皆さんに遊んでみてほしいです。
So yeah, at the time we were working on that as sort of a separate companion game to Star Fox Zero, and we've actually also completed that game. So we hope to be showing that to you very soon as well.
Oh wow!
But the thing is that with Star Fox games, that obviously the sort of when you get into the gameplay, the very basic gameplay is you're shooting at objects. But for some people, the flying and shooting can be a little bit difficult. And there aren't really that many games where all it is just really, really focused in on the shooting. And so that's a game where just by switching from camera to camera, right, you've got the switching of the different cameras, and then once you're in that camera mode, you're just kind of aiming and shooting in a very simple kind of manner right there that I think anyone can enjoy. So you can look forward to hearing more about that soon.
ガードのゲームはね、スティックでそうするんです。非常に分かりやすいんですけど、やってるうちにだんだんどうしてジャイロにしてくれないんだよっていうぐらいスターフォックスに近づいていけると思います。
So with that kind of the security camera game, you control it all with the control sticks. But I think fairly quickly everybody's going to start saying, how come I can't use motion controls to aim this camera?
So with all the games that you guys have made, despite being an animal, Star Fox has had a very incredible human relationship with its characters, especially in regards to Fox and Jace McCloud. Was there something at the time of development that made you more interested in the idea of the father-son relationship more so than in the previous ones?
今回の方が親子の関係について深くということですか。
そうですね。
そうですね。そこはねあまり変わってないと思う。今度はねすごくこだわってるのはアンドルフっていうのはただ悪いやつなのかって、でペッパーっていうのはただいいやつなのかって、で日本では犬猿の仲っていうんですね。犬と猿は仲が悪いものってなってて昔話では。けどそこがもう少しお話として、双方に考えがあって言い分があって、それが何だったのかということを結構今回考えて、それとフォックスのお父さんとペッパーの関係はどうだったのかみたいなことをもう少し深く考えてドラマに入り込みやすく設定をしています。
So yeah, it hasn't really changed a whole lot this time, but there's still that element of the father-son relationship. But one thing that I have focused more on, and we've paid more attention to in the game this time, is the question of, is Andros really just simply an evil person or not? Or is General Pepper truly, absolutely good? In Japan, for a long time, that we've had sort of these folk tales that talk about the relationship between dogs and monkeys, and they're two animals that, according to these tales, never get along well. And so we kind of explore the relationship between those two, and also we look to explore a little bit more deeply the relationship between Fox's dad and General Pepper. And so the story is going to develop, I think, a lot more. It'll still be easy to follow, but it will look at some of more of these themes in the game this time.
犬って手下のことを犬って言うんですね。手下、自分の子分のことをよく犬という。だから犬になり下がった狐よってあののがいいんですか。
I mean, typically, dogs are pets, but in this game you have a dog and his sort of subordinate is a fox, and so we'll look at that too a little bit.
So in the past, you've said that personality traits have served an inspiration for the Star Fox team. Is this also the case for Star Wolf and their team as well, or any of the characters in the Star Fox universe for that matter?
シリーズのキャラクター。
そのシリーズのキャラクターっていうのは本当の人の人生がインスピレーションになったとかっていうようなことは前にはおっしゃったことがあるかもしれないんですけれども、それはスターフォックスのチームだけのことなのか、ウルフの方も同じようなことも言えるでしょうか。
きっとお話を進めていくとそういうことも考えていくことになるんでしょうけども今のところ僕の設定の中ではスターフォックスのグループだけですね。
So yeah, maybe if we keep making more games and more stories, I'll have to think about potentially bringing some of that into a Wolf's team as well. But right now, it's really just kind of right there, the core members of the Star Fox team.
けどウルフチームの中もスターフォックスをお父さんを裏切ったピグマと、それからアンドルフの甥っ子のサルトっていうふうにいろいろな設定はしてますから。
But of course, on Wolf's team, you have Pigma who betrayed Fox's dad, and you have Andros's nephew also, and so there are some relationships on that side as well.
If there's one thing that you would want players to know about Star Fox Zero, from purely not knowing about it, what would it be?
ユーザーたちにスターフォックスゼロのことで一番分かってほしいことは何ですか？
一番分かってほしいこと。そうですね。久しぶりにしっかりとしたアクションゲームなんですね。で自分で技術が上がること、それから作戦を考えることを繰り返していくと、だんだんと自分が本当に上手になっていると、本当のパイロットになっているっていう。それからヒーローものとしてすごくかっこいいシーンをテレビで見せてくれるっていうなかなかインタラクティブでないとできないヒーローストーリーなので、ぜひともじっくり遊んで楽しんでほしいと思います。
So I want people to know that this is a real hardcore action game, and it has a great story. It has these amazing scenes that play out as you master the controls and you kind of learn these techniques. You're going to feel like you've become a real pilot. And as that pilot, you feel like you're a part of this hero story that has these dramatic scenes playing out on the television, but you're still able to, at the same time, fly right through those scenes in a way that you can only experience in an interactive medium. And so that's really what Star Fox Zero is all about.
Guys, thank you so much for this. This is an honor for me. I know a lot of people at home are going to appreciate this, and I can say safely on behalf of gamers from all over the world, thank you for everything from Mario to Zelda to Star Fox. It's really a pleasure to experience everything you guys have created and what we're continuing to enjoy with Star Fox Zero. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. I know it's a lot different from the rest of my content you've seen the past while, but this was so incredible. Meeting him and Bill Trinan and just being in the room with them playing Star Fox Zero, it was incredible. And once again, thank you to Nintendo of America. Thank you to all of you guys at home who's been supporting me all these years. This has been a true dream come true. You guys have no idea. He signed my 3DS, my Zelda 1 cart, and my Super Mario All-Stars cart. So, needless to say, not only was this an awesome opportunity to find out more about Star Fox Zero, but I got to spend incredible time with the man himself. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this interview in the comments below. Tweet at me, share with your friends, let them know. Hopefully you learned something new about Star Fox. And at the very least, you got to witness a really cool interview between me, Bill Trinan, and Miyamoto.